The majority of home buyers right now, probably if you ask them one-on-one, would tell you, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. So if you talk about a story of, here's someone just like them, it gives them hope. It gives them an example. And that's the whole foundation of even specifically what you do, business. The whole thing is, it's like, we're going to take you, you're here, and we have an example of someone that we helped that was just like you. And it gives you hope.
Welcome to the Raquel Show. This show is for entrepreneurs who want to play bigger in business and in life. And today I am bringing you someone I met at an event that forever changed my life. It was an event called Amplify. And this person stood out because he remembered every single person's name in the room and something about him without any notes, all from memory, which was super impressive. He loves to contribute to every single conversation. And it's why I want to bring him on the show, because I know he's got a lot of value that he's going to share with all of you. He has real estate experience, but what he's most passionate about is marketing and helping others create more sales through documenting your expertise in video. So we're talking all things marketing, the do's, the don'ts, and welcome to the show, Jeffrey Sabel.
Awesome. That was an awesome intro. I appreciate you having me on. And I think that, it's funny, you actually, at that Amplify event, you noticed that. I didn't notice that. And after that, you always talk about what's your superpower, what's your one thing. The beauty of being in an environment like that, like you helping people, coaching people, is that a lot of times what they just take for granted is just memory or visual memory, whatever it may be. They don't notice it. And you give them perspective. I remember that experience in Scottsdale was an amazing couple days. One of the best events I've ever been to. And it's really changed the way that I look at myself and the way that I can show up for people. And when you're building relationships with people, it's often the ones that connect on an emotional level, not an intellectual level. So by having that relationship with people, and instead of saying, hey, I'm just following up with you, pulling back some things that you thought of and that you remembered about them and saying, hey, how's that working? How far along are you at? I know last time we spoke, you were struggling with that. These are some things that I thought of that might be able to help you. So I love that point that you bring up. It's a great intro. And that's what I would definitely recommend for everyone, is just what's the one thing that you can be unique other than everyone else.
I love your superpower, and I love how you followed it because, like I said, you totally stood out of that room. And I want to talk about, especially in real estate, because a lot of our listeners are real estate agents, real estate investors, somewhere in the real estate industry. And marketing themselves is really hard. And you actually specialize in helping people document and pull things out of them that they actually can't even see in themselves. So walk us through what that looks like, and where do you see like agents specifically make mistakes when it comes to marketing?
This is what I would say, and it may seem like a generic answer, but it's the number one thing, everyone, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in any business is an exchange of money, it's an exchange of trust, and it's a relationship between one person to another. Now, there's a lot of different people in a transaction in real estate, whether it's an investor, whether it's a home buyer, whether it's a home seller, but it starts as a relationship between usually one person to one person, the agent and maybe the wife or the husband or the parent. The beauty of real estate, and this is why I think that real estate is still, regardless of all the noise in the media, all the noise in the news, is so powerful because it's that very intimate one-on-one relationship. There's a lot of businesses where there's a huge valley between where one person is and the other. This is something where you can sit down, which I hate to use the expression, it's a cliche, but at the kitchen table and have a conversation with someone. The number one mistake that I would say any business makes is they don't look at it as a one-on-one relationship. They look at, I'm the business owner. I need to assert myself. I need to talk about my experience. I need to talk about how many deals I've done. I need to talk about GCI, all these things. The beauty of it is the thing that people focus on the most, whether it's agents, business owners, whatever, themselves, is the worst thing that you can do. You have to talk about the person in front of you. The thing that I put in the book, and the thing that I tell everyone is, people only care about you to the extent that you can help them achieve their goals. And a lot of people don't like that, and it makes them uncomfortable. It's liberating. It's one of these things where I don't have to worry about how I look on camera. I don't have to worry about the typography I used on a marketing piece or any of these completely inconsequential things we would say are not money making activities. It just needs to be a conversation with the person telling them, you have X problem, you have X desired outcome. Here are the 10 things that I can do that can help you. Quick flip, instead of our team, me say, here's what you get. Here's what you get with a dedicated buyer's agent. Dedicated buyer's agent is cool because they're like a concierge for you. You 100% focus on them. And when you make that shift, it's humbling for a lot of people because we're, especially in real estate, the predisposition of everyone is, I have to talk about myself. I have to say I'm the best. I'm the number one. I use all these metrics. It's completely irrelevant. You know better than anyone how many times people will say, we didn't work with you because you sold the most or this. It's the way that you treated us. It's the way that you made us feel. It's the way that we felt that you cared about us because you listened to us. It's these deeper questions. If you look at like a relationship like the ocean, most people are like 5 feet. You have to get 10, 20, 30, 100 feet below the water and realize the beauty of it is, and I'm not really into sales, but one of the things that I tell people is if I meet with a client, I'm like, what's really going on here? I want to know what are your real deep desires? What are your goals? What are the things that you don't tell about anyone? And it's this icebreaker because there's always this pretense. There's always this feeling out period. I'm someone that I don't try to be, I've never rude to people, but I don't like small talk. I don't like pretense, whether it's a house, whether it's helping a business, whatever it may be. Let's just cut out the first 20%, like what you did on this podcast, like us talking for the first 5 to 10 minutes and getting right to it. That was a bit of a long-winded way of saying unrelenting focus on them, their goals, their pain. You're experiencing this. Let me tell you about 3 people that I think will really resonate with you on an emotional level because they were in your same position. And then you do a piece. You're like them because of this. You. That would be my number one piece of advice. If you tell someone how you can help them achieve what they want, you can brag about yourself. You can say it. You just have to say, you get this, which benefits you with that. Most people do the opposite, which is, to me, it's like the death sentence for all businesses. It's just the focusing on themselves. How great I am, all these things. Put the focus 100% on the person that you're trying to help.
I think it's interesting that you break it down like that, where we are so accustomed in the industry of all the accolades, how much GCI, how much volume, all the different stats, how many years you've been in the business. But what you're saying is completely the opposite, is know your customer, focus on the customer. It's about them. And in turn, you actually will get more business and referrals because you've treated somebody a certain way because you knew so much about them. And it goes back to that quote of people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think you've said that perfectly in what you just said.
That's a great quote. Another great quote is, and I always forget who says it. I think it was Dale Carnegie. It was Dale Carnegie. He says it's proven, and this is the beauty of it. It's not like theory. It's proven in the print world, in the internet world, in the realm of psychology. The word that is the most powerful to someone, like the highest engagement word, is their own name. The second one is you. Now, obviously, if you're doing a marketing piece, you can't say someone's name. If you have a list and you send out an email with someone's name, that's one thing. But you, here's what you get. Here's something you should know. Have you considered this? Are you struggling with this? It's the focus on them. That would be the quick kind of the easiest way if you wanted to redo marketing. Let's say if it's all like our team, it'd be like, here's what you get. You'll love this. Just by flipping the word me, I, our team, our office, and changing it to you, it's a totally different dynamic. If someone comes up and says, hey, let me tell you something, you're going to be like, nah, I'm not really interested. Versus they're like, you got to hear this. There's a lot of deep psychology behind it. There's psychology behind using the word you. There's psychology between the phrase of a question. Did you know this? Are you struggling with this? Have you considered this? Does this sound like you? Do you resonate with this person? Let's say, for example, you're your farm is an area where a lot of people are downsizing, and be like, do you resonate with this 70-year-old empty nest couple, blah, blah, blah. And then you make a marketing piece like they want to do this, da, 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 da. They're going to emotionally connect with it. Then at the end, you can put some little blurb into it about we're the number one team in this thing and da, 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 all that type of stuff. But it has to be 100% on whoever you're helping. The problem is I think most people don't do this is because they don't know who they're helping. So that would be the first priority. Before that is all marketing it's a two-step sequence. It's a specific audience and a specific message. It takes work and it's going to be a little bit of heavy lifting at the beginning, but I promise it's becomes so much more easier and your marketing becomes so much more emotional and the people that you're talking to feel like you understand them, especially in an industry like real estate, where real estate, if you look like over here, it's so high emotion. It's someone's house. Really, if we're going to be honest, aside from their doctor, it's probably the most important thing. Home and your health are probably the two most important things in your life. And then on the other end of it is all the stress and things involved with it. So it's this huge, and this is a reel that I was putting together last night. It's this huge spectrum, very wide spectrum. You have the joyed outcome of a home that they love, but on the other end, it's all the stress. Obviously, we're in my opinion, it's the most difficult market we've ever seen, where we're looking at rates, we're looking at inventory, we're looking at, obviously, we're in an election year. We've got a lot of all these other things which have no impact on real estate, but they really do because it's the overall psychology of the marketplace. So that's what I would say talk like you're having a conversation with one specific person one-on-one. Write like you talk. Whenever you're writing, like that's a hack for writing. The best marketing piece is like a letter. It's not like this corporate stuffy thing. If you were sitting down with, let's say your mom was your client that you're dealing with, write a letter and say, these are some things I want you to know. Have you considered this? This was a mistake that I've seen a couple of people make that were in your position. Here's what you should consider. I don't want you to make it. Write it like that. And I promise you, whether it's whether it's a video or a postcard or whatever it may be, it all starts as a written piece, as a script. That's the cheat. So if you do that, just that one thing, have a conversation in a conversational tone, I guarantee you're going to see immediate results in all your content, all your marketing, everything. That's the most important thing.
I think what I love about what you do today is, one, I believe that the industry in marketing, especially for the real estate industry, is changing. We went from templated, just listed, just sold, maybe in like lots of pictures on one page of all the properties they've sold in a magazine. Now, who would ever thought that we would be recording content to our ideal customer with digital marketing today? Now, an agent has to learn all of that. But sometimes we adopt it so late. So, where do you actually see in the future where marketing is going based on all the stuff that you've researched, studied? Because one thing that you're great at doing is documenting and researching the actual avatar that people are talking to. So, where do you see real estate agents adjusting their marketing in the future?
Cliches are cliche for a reason. And people are going to roll my eyes when I say build a personal brand because everyone says it. It's the proof. The fact of the matter is you need to look at big companies, like billion-dollar companies, what they do. Some of the most successful and savviest marketers are insurance companies and healthcare companies, biggest industries in the world. What are they doing? You look at every single pharmaceutical commercial now, it's people, just their normal, boring lives. You look at insurance companies, they're going to take a faceless company and they're going to put like a celebrity spokesperson or Flow or a Gecko or whatever. It personalizes it. When you look at the real estate industry, there was a cycle where it was very outdated, where people were like, you have to come into my office and then we're going to go look at houses. And then the MLS came out and people were like, why? This is a fad. It's not. Then like a Zillow and these types of companies come along. It's just a trend. We're in a cycle now where, in my opinion, the big brokerages, they don't matter. That's why you're seeing so many of these big brokerages reaching out to people like you, people that own these teams that have these strong personal brands, because at the end of the day, no matter what, like I mentioned earlier, Every exchange of money, every business transaction is a one-on-one relationship. It may be a big company versus it, but it's a one-on-one relationship. It's like there's let's say a local company here, Intermountain Healthcare. It's an enormous facility. My relationship with that company is my doctor. And my perception of that business is my perception of the relationship that I have with my doctor. So the way that I see real estate marketing is, if you're someone that use kind of these generic copy and paste things, continue to use it. Squeeze it out until you can't get anything else out of it. But you need to be building a personal brand. And the personal brand is a very broad definition. What it is just you documented. It's you on, obviously, video. I recommend writing, but it's how you approach business, what your core values are, what your process is, everything documented so you can replicate yourself on camera. And that's what it is. The goal of a personal brand is, anytime let's say you've been following someone, you've been stalking someone for 6 months on their social media profiles. The goal of the personal brand is when they show up, they say, man, you're the same person. I think the problem people have with a personal brand is they live two different lives. They have their real life and then they have their online life. They don't behave online because they're afraid of judgment, or they behave differently in person because they're afraid of judgment. There has to be complete connection between who you are in real life and who you are online. And the people that we know that are the most successful, like you, with the personal brand, is what you see is what you get. I'm no different online than I am in person. So if you're someone in the real estate industry fretting about all this stuff, pull out a camera and start making content. The content isn't like I have to think of content. The content is, let me document what I'm doing. Let me talk about this deal that, for example, the paradox formula. I told my client that they should cancel their home purchase. Most people are going to be like, why would you ever tell someone to cancel their home purchase? And then you say, well, this is the beauty of a home inspection. A lot of people have these misconceptions about it. We have a home inspection. The power of the home inspection is, we're validating what we think. We came through the house. We felt confident enough to write an offer. We got the home inspection done. We realized there was a bunch of issues that, unfortunately, the seller didn't know about earlier. We love the house, but it's just not meant to be. Document that. Become a storyteller. Talk about what's going on. And that's where I see, that's really where I see all marketing. That's why these billion-dollar companies are having people who have YouTube followings, Instagram followings, these people online, to advertise their product, because it's an individual. And every piece of marketing is one individual having a conversation with another. So that's what I would say, is the personal brand is the most important part of all of it.
What do you think are the best things to document for a real estate agent? Name a few so that our listeners could write them down or have some ideas, just to get, because this is a different conversation that they're accustomed to.
Yeah. The thing about real estate that I've never heard anyone talk about, I think the reason people in real estate don't like making content is because there's such a short shelf life for content. So if you look at, like I mentioned earlier, like talking with a client that I know that's a plastic surgeon, they're going to make a video 5 years from now. They may still want to run that video. The basic overall information is going to be the same. Now we would update it. Maybe they look different, whatever that may be, but the basic information is the same. If you make a market update in real estate 3 months from now, it's essentially useless. Obviously, you can look at data and whatever. That's one thing. If you look at a just sold or a just listed, for most people on this call, a just listed, the market, it didn't crash. The market's still hot. Things are selling very quickly. I think subconsciously that's why people in real estate don't make content, is because they're like, I'm going to post this thing and it's just like pouring a glass of water into the ocean. It has such a short shelf life. It's disposable content. What I think you need to be making more of is, well, I call it like trophy content, asset-based content. You need to be things about your approach on business. Let's say you're someone that's been in the industry for 30 years. You have the most valuable asset of all. It doesn't matter if you've never made a video in your life. You have the experience. You could say, let me tell you about a couple clients that I helped during the financial crisis and why I think right now is different than back then. There's a lot of stress. People are overwhelmed, but there's some things that are really working out for us. Lean on your experience. Become a storyteller. Talk about pain points. Talk about common mistakes. I'm someone that I'm not like the positive raw content type person. I think that the real content that is really going to, lack of a better way of saying it, being direct, get you business and make you money, is not positive content. There's a lot of people that are overwhelmed right now. They're being pulled 100 different directions. Talk to their pain. Talk to their pain. Say, this is where you're at right now. You're overwhelmed with this. But, and that's the pivot in the content, here's some things that I think you should consider. If you're completely overwhelmed, if you thought rates would be low by now, but they haven't, and prices have still gone up, here's some things that you need to consider. Talk to the negative, because so many people ignore the negative. Oh, it's a great time, everything's positive. Talk to the negative and then quickly pivot to the but. So that's what I would recommend for people. Don't open positive. People, the thing about, and not to go too far in the weeds on this, but the thing about salespeople and the thing about businesses is people have a predisposition to not trusting them. So it's like when you show up and they're scrolling through their thing and they're like, oh, this kind of looks like a salesperson. And I'm like, man, this is a great market right now. They're like, gone, not interested. You have to meet them where they're at, the frustration. It would be like, in my opinion, and not to be too judgmental, I don't know of another industry aside from like hardcore sales where this type of behavior is applied. Could you imagine if you go to the doctor and you have a broken arm and you'd be like, my arm's broken? They'd be like, oh, it's such a beautiful day, isn't it? They don't behave like that. They elevate themselves to a certain point to meet where the patient's at, to meet where people are at, and then they bring them down. So that's what I would recommend is don't be as positive, be real, be authentic, embrace what the challenges are, but, and that's the key word, pivot to a positive. So it always wants to end on a positive note. You don't necessarily want to start on a positive note because that's really going to get ignored. It's going to sound like everything else. So that's what I would recommend is talk to people's humanity, talk to their struggle. So many people just want to gloss over the fact of that, be like, man, this is difficult. The way that you can do that is, let's say you take your 5 most brutal escrows over the last year and talk about the person that couldn't get qualified and the more they waited and then they ended up getting a loan from their parents and whatever it may be, whatever these stories are, talk about the negative, then pivot to the positive. The thing that I talk about in the book that, and the thing that is universal of sales, is a concept called damaging admission copy. It's just like in real life. If you're someone that, like at our Amplify event, if you're someone that acknowledges issues that you're having, acknowledges your faults, if you're real and authentic, that's the easiest way for people to trust you more. They look at you and they say, this is a real human being. If you have things where you could even make a video and say, these are the 5 people who should never even consider buying a house right now. Most people would be mortified to film that type of video. The reality is those 5 people aren't going to buy a house anyways. But for the people that are going to buy, they're going to look at you and be like, wow, this is interesting because he's talking about the positives and he's talking about the negative. The whole concept of damaging admission copy is nothing's 100%. But people, especially in real estate, look at it's always a good time to buy. It's always a good investment. It's always ignore this, ignore that. Talk to the negatives and the positives. Last point on that, one of the most successful content type formats like on YouTube is the versus, because it's taking 2 opposites. It's taking negative, positive, good versus bad, Corvette versus Porsche, swimming versus running. People like that opposite type dynamic. Exactly. So be like renting versus buying. Again, most real estate agents would say never a good time to rent. You could say, here's why I think right now most people should be renting. And then you go into a whole thing about what benefits of renting. And you could say, but this isn't it. This is simply a take a step back to take 5 steps forward. Right now, you should say, if I'm going to rent something for a year, by the end of that year, I'm going to be completely informed. I'm going to have my options lined up and I'm going to be ready to buy a house. So I don't think renting's a bad thing. That in and of itself is a paradox, because it'd be like, what real estate agent would say that it's a good time to rent? That type of content is what I'd recommend. Be real, talk about the negatives, and then talk to the positives.
You talked about earlier storytelling, and you're a really good storyteller as I'm listening to how you are describing all the different things and formats when it comes to documenting and content. Is how important is storytelling in sales and marketing and video content today?
Storytelling, and I don't know who said this, I read it years ago, but they're like, storytelling's the glue that holds together humanity. And the interesting thing about it is you can really push the envelope hard on a sales message. You can be incredibly direct with your sales message through a story. So instead of saying, this is what my team does, this is it, blah, 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 look at all these things, talk about someone that you helped. Be like, this person. And you go from beginning, like the first day you met them, to that day when you finally were able to give them the keys. Talk about that entire thing. The thing about storytelling is it's so powerful because the whole foundation of storytelling is if you have the right story to the right audience, not just like a random story to a random audience. If you're taking a specific client that you helped or a specific group of clients you've helped, maybe there's 3 clients and you're putting it in front of an avatar that is them. Let's say first-time home buyers, obviously first-time home buyers. That could be like one specific thing. By telling a story, it's going to be way more emotional, and that's the key word is emotional, because they're going to see themselves in it. The thing about a story and the thing is it's like when you're a kid and you watch like movies and you see like superhero movies or something, you think, oh, I wish I was them, or I wish I could be that. Or if you watch sports and you see someone make a big play, you'd be like, and you're a kid, you go out into the driveway and you start throwing the football, you're like, man, I wish I could do that. The power of the storytelling is people can see themselves in it. It gives them an example. It gives them hope. The other thing on storytelling is, and this is powerful, like in real estate, the thing about when you have a video that's like, oh, let me give you a tour of a $10 million house. Most people can't even fathom what a $10 million house looks like. They'll never step foot in a $10 million house. The beauty of the storytelling and this type of stuff is most people, and again, this kind of talks to the negative, most people live very mundane lives. They don't do exciting things. They don't have a lot of friends. So by telling a story, you can be an outlet for them to vicariously experience things. That's why this real estate content is so powerful. The majority of people, this is another uncomfortable thing that most people in real estate would never say. The majority of home buyers right now, probably if you ask them one-on-one, would tell you, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. So if you talk about a story of here's someone just like them, it gives them hope. It gives them an example. And that's the whole foundation of even specifically what you do, business. The whole thing is it's like, we're going to take you, you're here, and we have an example of someone that we helped that was just like you. And it gives you hope. So that's the power of a story. The story is they can see themselves in it. It gives them hope. It gives them optimism. And for you, your selfish interest as an agent, it gives you a higher likelihood of converting them into a client and ultimately closing them on a deal. Storytelling is the most important thing. It has to be that. Real estate's an interesting business because it's emotional and it's logical. So there's the finance side of it, lending, money, even if you're investing, cap rates, all these number-based things, but it's also very emotional. It's like the gut feeling that you have on it. You know, I've had investors where they're coming in, the numbers look good, and they're like, just the vibe's off. I just can't do it. It's emotional and logical, whereas there's not a lot of businesses like that. You're selling smoothies, that's emotional. It doesn't be logical. So the storytelling caters to both sides of their brain.
I love it. And you wrote a book, which I want you to tell everyone about. And I also want people to connect with you. Where can people connect with you that want to learn more?
Yeah, so I wrote this book, and the book actually, complete honesty, started as just a reference guide for myself. So again, my selfish interest, I wanted something that made it easier for me. The goal of this book is, we talk about content, we talk about building a personal brand. This is like the antidote to writer's block. It's, I don't know what to say. I want to film a piece of content. I don't know what to say. How do I start? These are strategies that are proven. I didn't invent them. I just observed everything around me. The best marketers, the best companies, the best hooks, the best formulas, the best sentence structures. It's 150 pages or so, and it's just, you can open up. So for example, I open up right here. If then contrast, that's formula number 13. I could use that as a formula. If you're renting and think you'll never be able to afford to buy a house, then you need to watch this 3-minute video. Did you know about this new program available that allows you to buy a house with 1% or just something like that? That's the goal of this book. Is it's simply an antidote to writer's block. It'll help you make content easier. It'll help you make better content easier. And it was a passion project, and I've shared it with a few people, and the response has been very positive. If anyone wants to check it out, you can go to headlinehandbook.com or reach out to me on Instagram.
And what's your Instagram handle, Jeffrey?
My Instagram handle is my name, JeffreySabel, Jeffrey Sable. Send me a message. I love hearing from all of you. And if you need anything, if you have any questions, just reach out to me at any time. I'm always available for you.
Amazing. You dropped a ton of knowledge, things from a different perspective. That's why I love having you on the show. And as we wrap up, there's always one question that I ask every single guest that comes on the show is, what does Jeffrey do to play bigger in business or in life?
The advice that I give to everyone, don't focus on yourself, focus on others. Most people don't do something because of fear of judgment from others, nervous. You have to realize everyone only cares about themselves. So if you're in business and you want to help more people, have unrelenting focus on others. Nobody cares the way you look on camera, the way you sound, all these shortcomings that you think are like on display for the whole world. Nobody cares. Talk to how you can help them, why you care about them, and you'll make more money than you know what to do with.
Amazing, Jeffrey. I want to thank you so much for being on our show, for all the knowledge you dropped. Please check out his book. We also will put it in our show notes, and connect with him on Instagram. I promise you, he will send you a message right back. And I always love when our listeners connect with our guest on the show. And until then, I want to say thank you again. And I cannot wait to see all the people you help with your gifts, your superpower, and support you in playing bigger, my friend.
Love it. Thank you.